can't comment about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads.
Then you can fuck yourself! You're a fucking loser!
Fauci lied in hearings to me, which is a felony.
More on Israel and their war with Hamas as a congresswoman puts a Palestinian flag in front of her office. Also, Real Women's Day. You'll never guess whose speech got canceled on a college campus. And lastly, Dr. Fauci is in the news yet again. Rand Paul saying that maybe he's going to do some prisons time. We'll see. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live, not from the dingy bunker, instead from the fabulous Trump International Hotel in Miami, Florida. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. On today, it is Wednesday, October 11th, the year of our Lord 2023. A lot to get to today. Obviously, more not coming out from Israel, but we won't necessarily hit on that because there's better people covering that sort of thing. I'm more interested in the response from people around the country and especially our elected congresspeople, as that people are now backing off the unwavering support for people who were attacked in Israel, which is crazy to me, and yet it is happening. We'll get right to it. Rashida Tlaib, D, Congresswoman from Michigan, yesterday, put up a Palestinian flag in front of her office. Now, there's a lot that could be said about that, and again, there are better people and more educated people who are going to have a much better way of eviscerating verbally the congresswoman. But I did want to play this clip from her walking through her halls. One thing that I appreciate about Congress, if you haven't been to Washington, D.C., in order to get to the congressional offices, most of the congresspeople's offices don't have like back doorways where they can go through. At least I don't think. And in most cases, they have to walk through the general area where reporters can be, where people of the public can be. And so that's what's happening here. Rashida Tlaib is walking to her office and being asked some pretty easy questions, if you ask me, and can't seem to find an answer to them. This is a congresswoman in the country that we occupy, or that we live in, the United States of America. Watch this.
Terrorists have cut off babies' heads and burned children alive. Do you support Israel's rights to defend themselves against this brutality?
We're just going to go through here.
You can't comment about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? Congresswoman, do you have a comment on Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? You have nothing to say about Hamas terrorists chopping off babies' heads? Do you condone what Hamas has done, chopping off babies' heads, burning children alive, raping women in the street? You have no comment about children's heads being chopped off? Congressman, why do you have a Palestinian flag outside your office if you do not condone what Hamas terrorists have done to Israel? Do Israeli lives not matter to you?
That again is Rashida Tlaib, D, Michigan. Not answering a very easy question. Does it matter at all? Do you have any comments? Yes, it's terrible. It's horrible, and absolutely we should condone 100% of it. But the congresswoman that put a Palestinian flag in front of her office doesn't really have anything to say about that. Now, okay, just briefly, indulge me, if you will. I was at, Charlie Kirk was in Orlando, Florida last night. I was opening for him and heard a lot of the questions, especially revolving around the Israel-Palestine war going on right now. And one of the things that I thought was fascinating is this one kid got up and started talking about, Israel is an occupied land, an occupied territory. And Charlie's like, well, what is Palestine? What what is the country of Palestine that you're talking so much about? And the kids started talking about, well, history books say this and history books say this. I feel like there's a huge lack of knowledge going on in this whole debate and argument for the side that continues to say things like the United States is on stolen land and this and that sort of thing. It would appear that not a ton is known past, I don't know, the last, 70 years that Israel's been a country-ish. Yes, the war of 1948, 47, 46, around there when Israel becomes its own nation of the Jewish population. Yeah, I guess if you start your history there, you can come to some varying beliefs on whose land and this and that and the other thing. But I feel like that's where it stops. Nobody goes all the way back to, I dare I say biblical times, but I mean that in the historical sense, not a religious sense necessarily. But I think people often forget that Jewish people were there way before everybody else. And I say that again, historically speaking, and these are the same people that are saying, well, the United States is on Native American lands and all of that nonsense. Okay, if you're going to use that argument, the Jewish people have always been in this land. They've been toppled and exiled a number of times, but then they've come back. And then to say that, well, it's not their land anymore, doesn't that go against the entire argument you're making in the first place? I think the most recent, not the most recent, because there's several Jewish exiles, some bigger, some not as big. But I think the biggest exile of Jewish people from their homeland that I think has a lot of historical significance is by the Romans all the way back when. In fact, the Romans, in order to stick a thumb in the eye of the Jewish people, then name the region that the Jews are being exiled from, Palestina, which is a thumb in the eye because they were effectively naming it after Philistines, an enemy of the Jews. And so the Romans then name this region Palestina. The Jews are kicked out of it, and then when they come back and try to make a life for themselves after the horribleness of the Holocaust, Zionism starts to become a burgeoning idea among the Jewish population around the world to go back to the ancestral homeland. Now it's not okay, and now it's stolen. Okay, well, who stole the land first? My point is that to sit and say that, well, the Jewish people came in and are occupying land that isn't theirs. Like, okay, again, I guess if your history book stops at 1948, I still wouldn't agree with that, but I can feasibly see how you think that. But then again, isn't the whole thing that lefties have been pushing, this whole indigenous people deserve the land that they were on, whatever the argument is, if you're going to make that argument here in the United States, shouldn't that also be the truth elsewhere? Which is what a weird, short-sighted way of seeing this problem. But again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because there's lots of news going on outside of the terrible situation going on in Israel. But just fascinating. I was listening to that last night, thinking, wow, a lot of our people are doing themselves a disservice by not even attempting to have a baseline understanding of the entirety of the history of that region of the world. But anyways, I digress. I won't belabor on this. Oh, by the way, just really quick, this congresswoman who refused to answer the question of whether or not, hey, is chopping off babies' heads a bad thing? No comment for that. Was also seen here in 2019, literally in tears, crying with her friend AOC, and I believe is that Cory Bush? Can't tell. No. Anyways, no, it's not. But literally in tears over the quote unquote kids in cages that Obama set up and blamed on Trump. But that can evoke tears in a congresswoman. But again, not beheading of children. Let's see. Holy cow, I did it again. I messed up the Chiron on this. These are not extremists gathering in NYC. They are gathering in Pennsylvania. Extremists gather in Pennsylvania. If we're moving on from that, again, horrible topic, extremists gathered in Pennsylvania to protest Riley Gaines speaking at Penn State University. Yesterday okay. I really, really like that conservatives are now playing the rhetorical games. I don't like the rhetorical games have to be played at all. I think we should talk in open terms and people should be more engaged. But if we're going to compete on the rhetorical playing field of nice sounding words, I'm glad that conservatives are actually doing this. Yesterday, to my knowledge, was Real Women's Day. There's Women's Day, obviously, but apparently now that can be hijacked by dudes who want to wear dresses. But Real Women's Day is now a thing. And on Real Women's Day, Riley Gaines was set to speak at Pennsylvania State University, Penn State, where she was met with some really interesting protesters. Now, I'm going to play you some of the protesty clips. And, well, at this point in time, there's some good news, I think, coming out of this. One, I think the speech was actually I combined those things. The good news is not the speech was canceled, but the speech was, I think, in fact, canceled, which is not a good thing. But some of the good news, I think, is that it would appear that the fervor, energy for the crazy outside of their mind trans activists is dwindling. Watch this. This is like one dude getting very upset and eventually arrested. But look at the tactic and approach this young person, I'm not going to assume his gender, takes when talking about this with people who are going to attend a speech. Check it out.
Getting some good footage. Fuck you. You're a fucking loser. Yeah.
You want to lose $150 million to the campus for all your friends? I'm State Senator Chris Dush. I'm going to tell you something. If you guys don't don't behave yourselves, you're very well.
You support the anti-trans people?
I support the people who are here, like Riley Gaines, who had her
Then you can fuck yourself. You're a fucking loser.
Have a good day, son.
You have a bad day.
Oh, you have a bad day. Jeez. What a weird. Can you imagine, like, do it? You're just walking around, and then if you replay that video, he's just walking around, kind of just milling about, and then turns to the side of the. You're an effing loser. Can you imagine? I mean, maybe that's the sort of thing that happens on the streets of New York, but can you imagine being in that sort of a situation, or being in that sort of a headspace where, like, that's like this is totally acceptable for me to do. I think this is a normal person would act this way. Holy cow. But the two, this guy and his friend continue to harass people that are literally just trying to talk. Like, one of the great things at these types of events, Turning Point events specifically, but all of these conservative events, is that anybody's allowed to talk. You're allowed to have a microphone. This guy, if this person, this non-identifying individual, could have gone into whatever speech he was protesting and asked a question that could have toppled their entire argument if he had the ability to do so rhetorically. But decided not to do that, and instead was milling around. And here's, I guess, the payoff. We see him and his friend being not cool with some people and paying the price. Check it out.
Excuse me, sir. No questions.
Oh, you're not.
Transphobic.
Huh?
Why should I be transphobic?
You are transphobic.
No.
What the fuck is the sign you're holding right now, huh? Get this shit out.
Whoa.
Yo.
That's on camera, right?
Calm down.
Yep. Calm down, guys.
What?
Where's the police at? You're here trying to cause
police?
police don't have better ideas. Behave.
No one's fucking attacking you. This one and this one. With the backpack. And the one with the mask. And the mask. Yep. Don't fucking touch me like that.
Are we being detained? Are we being
Can you
detained?
let go of me?
Are we being arrested?
Can you fucking
Are
let
we
go
being
of me?
detained?
Don't touch me.
Are we being Are we being detained?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go.
Am I being arrested?
You can put it on.
Okay, you can put it in the back.
I just don't want it spilling all over.
All right, fine.
What's he being arrested for?
Disorderly conduct right now.
All right, what does that mean?
Oh, jeez. You know what I think is funny about that is there's apparently we have a new dictionary in this country. I guess I was unaware. I wasn't privy to this, but we've got a new dictionary. Attacked means mean things online. Being physically attacked, that no longer means attacked. Like these are the same type of people that when you say, hey, I think your ideas are not the best ideas, they're like, why are you attacking me with your verbal hate? Okay, so that's an attack. But I don't know if you missed it, the girl or the non-identifying gendered person in the pink sweatshirt. She said, who's attacking you? You just flipped over their table. Like that's kind of like, I mean, short of punching somebody in the face, that could be considered a physical, actual attack. And she's like, oh, nobody's attacking you. Okay. So if somebody that leans a little bit to the right says something that you don't like on the internet, that's an attack. But then flipping their tables and then cussing them out, that's not. Got it. Okay, so I guess we all need to get this new dictionary. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should jokingly write a new dictionary. Just means all of the words mean the opposite of exactly what they mean. But enough about that. The speech yesterday was canceled, and the president of the UPenn. Did I say Penn State? No, it was Penn State. I don't know. It doesn't really matter because this sort of stuff happens everywhere. At UCF last night, there was a bunch of activists in the crowd asking, in my opinion, ridiculous questions. But I guess good that they're asking questions as opposed to just yelling about it. But at the end of the day, this stuff happens all over the place. So I guess the specific college doesn't really matter, but I'm pretty sure it was Penn State. Anyways, the speech was actually canceled, and the principal or the chancellor or the president of the university put out a statement saying, even though these people are bigots, we are obligated to let them speak, and then ultimately canceled the speech, which is ironic to say the least. But I thought about playing that video, but we'll move on because I thought this was interesting. And this is still a question that lingers in my head. Will Fauci end up in prison? If the 2024 elections say as much, I think there actually is somewhat of a chance of Dr. Fauci going to jail. And that's not like an extreme position, I think given all the things that have come out, if Republicans can get a strong majority in the Senate, the presidency, and Congress, it seems not unlikely that Fauci could end up in the clink. Watch this clip from Rand Paul about some new emails that are, again, this is continuous, just keeps trickling out over time. But Rand Paul talking about some new emails coming out about the mastermind behind COVID-19. Watch this. This is going to continue to be interesting. Check it out.
We have evidence, yes, that they were dishonest, that Anthony Fauci lied in hearings to me, which is a felony, punishable up to 5 years. We now have emails that show him saying that he knew it was gain of function, that the virus looked manipulated, and that he was worried that this came from the Wuhan lab. February 1st of 2020. Then he spent the last 3 years saying nothing to see here. We also know that there was a safety committee that should have reviewed this, and we know that Anthony Fauci went around the safety committee. The safety committee set up in place to make sure this wouldn't happen, never saw the Wuhan funding because Anthony Fauci allowed the funding to go around the safety committee. This is a bombshell revelation, and this will eventually bring down Anthony Fauci.
Again, you never know how the public is going to respond to stuff like this, but I think Rand Paul has enough of a bone to pick where he's going to stay on this. Because remember all the way through COVID, Rand Paul is also a doctor. I think he's an optometrist, so it's not, again, an infectious disease doctor. But at the end of the day, he also went to medical school and also has a pretty good understanding of disease and all that stuff. Remember, Rand Paul was, I think, the first senator to get COVID and was like, this is fine. I'm still going to work out in the pool, and got a bunch of heat for it. And I think because of how he's been treated by the media and by Fauci fans, I don't think he's going to let up on this. But we'll see. I guess Fauci, has some emails out there saying basically, and again, none of this seems like new. This is all confirming things that we already kind of speculated about. But Dr. Fauci apparently was saying, this is a problem. I knew what was going on. We need to cover it up. But you know what? I guess I'll tell you what. If you need a world-changing disease, go nowhere else than Dr. Fauci and his friends to create that disease for you. And speaking of that, I want to get to this. This is somewhat tawdry. Will Fauci go to? Let me know in the comment section. Do you think Fauci will end up in prison? I think my money is still on I doubt it, but now it's like 45-55 to whether I think he's going to go to prison. 45% of me thinks, he might. And 55 thinks probably not. But at one point, it was like 10-90. So the scale is moving. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Will this be enough? Not necessarily will this be enough, but will Rand Paul push this until it finally comes to its rightful conclusion? And I guess speaking of COVID, I want to get to this. This is just fun, I guess, entertainment stuff. So if you missed this, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, who plays for the Chiefs, I forget his name, Travis Kelce or something like that, but it doesn't matter. He's dating Taylor Swift. That's the only thing about him that we care about. Was also simultaneously making news for being on a Pfizer commercial. Now think about that what you will. Maybe he's just getting a paycheck, but he was front and center on this Pfizer commercial, encouraging everybody to get the Pfizer shots. Then last week, the Chiefs played the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of the Jets, he's currently injured. They had a small chat on the sidelines. Then Aaron Rodgers went on a talk show that he goes on routinely, the Pat McAfee show. And he jokingly called Travis Kelce Mr. Pfizer. Then Travis Kelce, who is, again, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, nothing else about him matters, went on the press saying, I don't mind being called Dr. Pfizer or Mr. Pfizer. And Aaron Rodgers then went on that same show the following week after Travis responded to being called Dr. Pfizer and said this, and I thought this was interesting. That long setup was finally to this. Check it out.
I mean, listen, Mr. Pfizer said he didn't think he would be in a vax war with me.
Oh, boy.
Didn't think he'd be in a vax war with me. This ain't a war, homie. This is just conversation. But if you want to have some sort of duel, debate, have me on the podcast. Come on the show. Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
Pass it out.
Let's do it like in John Wick 4, right? So we both have a second.
Nice.
Right? So somebody to help us out. I'm going to take my man, RFK Jr.
Okay.
As an independent.
Hell yeah.
Right? And he can have, Tony Fauci or some other pharmacrat. And we can have a conversation about this.
Okay. Well, I'm happy we got that sorted. Thought for sure you were going with Rogan, but obviously, Dr. Joe Rogan, I apologize. But RFK Jr., not a bad get. He's been at the forefront of this conversation on the internet I have seen, currently an independent. And could you imagine Fauci and Kelce sitting down across from Aaron and RFK Jr.?
Appointment television.
I know you have that 500-page report already. That kind of got forgotten about in the whole thing. Hey, Pat, why didn't you? What's that?
That'd be big ratings.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about this is that Pat McAfee's a sports guy. This is a sports talk show, but there's no way to avoid just the cultural stuff nowadays. And to know Pat McAfee is weighing in, again, the sports talk show comedian, because Pat is a punter / comedian who hosts a sports talk show, there's no way around talking about all of the big cultural events, which is fascinating to me. And, I would love to see that happen. I would love to see Taylor Swift's boyfriend, who, again, I believe his name is Travis Kelce. I'm not sure. And by the way, Travis, if for some reason you watch this somehow, this is all a joke. I've realized that you've made a name for yourself on your own right, and not just Taylor Swift's boyfriend, but that's the media joke nowadays. But anyways, Taylor Swift's boyfriend and Aaron Rodgers sitting down and talking about what they know, what they think they know, would be fascinating, whatever side of the aisle you're on, unless you're on the side that says, believe the establishment, or else you're a January 6er. Then I guess it wouldn't be fun. But all fascinating things, all interesting, and kind of goes to show there's stuff going on outside of Israel. Israel, I think, is the biggest story, and it will be for a very, very long time. But the world doesn't stop spinning, and a lot of things that we should be paying attention to still continue to happen, especially like the trans extremists on college campuses, Dr. Fauci, all that stuff is still happening, and should be talked about. But appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB. You'll be able to find me pretty much anywhere. I am in Miami today. I'll be on I believe, the Isabel Brown live stream, also from Miami, down the road a little bit. Later on today, I think 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you go check out her podcast / live stream, it should be fun. And then tomorrow I will be with Candace Owens in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll be home. I love being home. But it should be a good time if you live in those areas. Virginia Tech, I believe. Sorry, Virginia Tech. Georgia Tech will be with Candace Owens tomorrow. So if you or if you're in any of those areas, or you want to check out those live streams, go ahead and do so. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. We will see you tomorrow, probably. Remember, on Monday I said we'll see you tomorrow, and then yesterday we were flying at weird times. So we'll see you tomorrow, probably, but also who knows? God bless America.